You now, of course, know Emma Raducanu. And of course, you know Leylah Fernandez, because both of these young women had perfect storm dream runs at the 2021 US Open. And it was fun to watch. And it has maybe overshadowed the ascent of another young woman into the top 40. Now, she would have been the talk of the tour last year had it not been for Emma Raducanu and Leylah Fernandez. I'm talking about Clara Tauson from Denmark, who has had a way more steady and not flashy, unspectacular rise into the top 40. My name is Meike Babel. I'm a former top 30 WTA pro, 19 times Grand Slam competitor. While I was playing, I was fortunate enough, for instance, to see Justine Henin and Kim Clijsters make their rise in the rankings. And none of them came in there with like, oh, I'm just winning a Grand Slam here. I'm 18 years old and I'm just, boom, winning a Grand Slam, and now I'm number 18 in the world. And people have so unrealistic expectations on me that I can't possibly fulfill them, which is unfortunately happening a little bit with Emma Raducanu and with Leylah Fernandez, because neither one of them have done really great after the US Open. And if you watched any of my videos on either one or both of them, the links are in the description below, you will know that I have predicted that it's going to be really rough, because that's just the way it is if you have such a phenomenal rise in the rankings. Now, let's look at Clara Tauson. 18 years old, just turned 19 years in December, and she's won 2 of the smaller tournaments on tour. She's got incredible firepower, and I will show you footage and I will explain exactly why I think she's going to be in the top 20 at the end of the year if she stays injury-free. Now, if you're a player like her, if you've developed like her, the rise in the ranking is way more sustainable because she's spread out the gains and the points that she'd made over the entire year. So if any of her tournaments falls out of the rankings and she can't defend the points, she's not going to drop back to, let's say, playing qualifying for a Grand Slam or not even making it into the big tournaments, which could very well be the case for Emma Raducanu if she can't defend Wimbledon 4th round, and then of course her win at the US Open, or Leylah Fernandez's win at a smaller tournament in Colombia, I believe, and then of course her finals participation at the US Open. So it's way more spread out, and there's less anxiety coming up every week to defend these points. And to me, it is actually a positive that people did not talk about her as much, because we do know that social media, that fans, that contract partners can be completely nutters, to be perfectly honest, when somebody new comes on the scene. And the other thing that I'm noticing about Clara Tauson is that her development in the rankings, in her play, I've watched her play last year at a smaller tournament, thanks to streaming of WTA tournaments and ITF tournaments. That is something that you should be doing, by the way. It is way more normal how she's coming up, qualifying in smaller tournaments, doing really well, and then going deeper in draws there, and then qualifying for WTA higher tournaments, making it deeper in the draws there, winning a smaller one, winning another smaller one, and maybe having the Australian Open 2022 as her breakthrough. Maybe not winning it, but her win against Annette Kontaveit was, whew. I mean, if you watch that woman just blast away the number 7 in the world and not really looking worried at all, not too big of an occasion for her, that was pretty amazing. I've watched Justine Henin, Kim Clijsters, and a few others make it into the very top of the world when I played during the 10-year career that I had on the WTA tour. And neither one burst on the scene with, woohoo, here I am, I'm winning a Grand Slam, now I'm into the top 18 or 20, and I really have not played that much. They've all played smaller tournaments. I can remember an actual $25,000 tournament somewhere in France where a teeny tiny Justine Henin actually won. I lost in the third round or whatever it was. And Justine Henin won the tournament. And when I looked at her, of course, there was already a little bit of a, brouhaha about her. And when I watched her, I was like, holy bananas. That is one to watch. Because I didn't have anything close to what this woman had at the age of whatever she was. But it was steadier. It was slower. It was more sustainable. It wasn't as crazy. And that's what I actually like for Clara Tauson, that not as many people kind of talked about her, had as much in mind for her. So let's jump in and look at what makes her so dangerous, because she is, somebody who has firepower. So do store that name away. Even if she doesn't win today against Danielle Collins, who is a very steady player, and it could very well be that a younger player, having beaten a really, really good player in the round before, is a little empty, a little bit of a letdown, because now I won against the number 7 in the world. Now I'm playing against Danielle Collins, who is a great player. She's seeded 27, but now I should win. So that's always a very, very interesting piece of psychology that can go on there. So regardless of whether she wins or loses, she is a name that you need to file away if you're ready for the next generation on the Women's Pro Tour. I'm going to show you a point from her first match at the Australian Open, and you will see what this woman is all about, because this is a very characteristic point. So she starts off with a good first serve. She had really good stats in her win against Anett Kontaveit. Not this hugest serve per se, but really well placed, and she's looking to immediately take over the point with her forehand, and you see it right here. So she's now behind the ad side, and she's looking to go with her forehand, and that's how she likes to structure the point. She's also not backing up a whole lot, and is really good with transferring her body weight into the shot. So you see that she's approaching the ball here at an angle, not going just parallel to the baseline, but she's cutting in and has really good body weight transfer into the shot there. And she does not have a significantly weaker or slower backhand. She's doing a really good job redirecting the ball from cross-court rallies with her forehand, and then taking the ball up the line with her backhand. And this is what she does really, really well. So let's go back to that one more time. So in the entirety of that rally, you're seeing that she's not backing up behind the baseline a whole lot. She's actually hugging the baseline fairly close. And throughout the entire match with Anett Kontaveit, she was just absolutely commanding this space here, meaning that she was taking time away from Anett Kontaveit the entire time. Usually you see somebody like Anett just blasting other people off the court, really powerful ground strokes, but she was barely holding on, getting to the balls. So the last little bit here is what makes this kid so strong. She's playing on this depth of the baseline, but the second she has an opportunity to move up and to move in and take time and space away from her opponent, she does. So just quote unquote old school closed stance, but look where she's making contact with the ball. And that is what's going to be so difficult for her opponents to control. It's just relentless. There's no variation a whole lot in the game, and that could be potentially something that could be exploited. But if the ball's coming at you with Mach 15 the entire time, there's not a whole lot of variation that you can throw in. The only thing that could be exploited is that she has not gotten used to being on the big stage yet. She's played on the outside courts for the most part. Tonight will be the first time that she's playing on the show court, and let's see how she handles that. But other than that, you definitely need to be looking out for this young woman.